Hello, this is Zeki. I know you've heard about how we've done well on the CCRPI at Amana. What I will try to do in this presentation is explain what CCRPI is and how it affects us in all schools in Georgia. CCRPI stands for College and Career Readiness Performance Index. Um, some of the learning targets we'll cover in this presentation are I can begin to understand how CCRPI works. I can understand how Amana performed on the CCRPI. I can identify stars and stairs from the data to inform my instructional practice. So what is CCRPI? So CCRPI measures how well schools, districts, and state are helping students achieve their goals. And also it's a comprehensive roadmap to help educators, parents, and community members to promote and improve college and career readiness for all students. And the overall objective is to provide high quality opportunities and outcomes for all students. How is the redesigned CCRPI different? As we all know, this year they've changed how CCRPI is calculated. So the recent CCRPI is simpler and streamlined, and it has 4 components: content mastery, progress, closing gaps, and readiness are the 4 components that will give us an overall score out of 100. So that will be our CCRPI score. They reduced the number of indicators within each component. And like I just said, it's out of 100. So the first component is the content mastery. And that is 30% of the overall score of the CCRPI. And content mastery, they look at achievement scores for English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. And they give it a score. And depending on how well we do, out of 100, but it still counts as 30% of the overall CCRPI. And the second component is progress, and that's 35% of the overall CCRPI score. And progress is how much growth students are demonstrating relative to their academic similar students. Another name for it is SGP, or student growth percentile. So that's 35%. They also look at English language learners and how they're performing, and that counts part of the progress score. Third component is the closing of gaps. That's 15% of the overall score. And closing of gaps is looking at whether students in all subgroups, subgroups are making improvement to achieve in achievement rate. And we look more in detail when we get to the scores. An improvement target is a 3% gap. If students are making 3% improvement, consider they're closing gaps. And the fourth one is readiness, and that's the 20%. And in this component, they look at literacy based on Lexile, student attendance, and opportunities for enrichment, such as taking Arabic in case of Amana, and other advanced and accelerated courses count as well. So how did we perform? So looking at 2017, 16, 17, our overall score was 85.3, and our recent score in 2017, 18 is 91.9. So we've made tremendous growth from last year to this year. But we're not comparing apples to apples here, because since it's been redesigned, but it's still a great achievement. In elementary, we've gained almost a 10 percentage point, but our middle school have stayed kind of flat. So this is our demographics at Amana. In elementary school. We are 53.9% economically disadvantaged. So we're going to take a look at the each component one by one. This is elementary, and the score we got for elementary for content mastery was 87%. But of course, we say that that's a percentage of the 4 components, but 87% is what we got. And science and social studies were our weak areas, and mathematics is where we did the best. And in the progress point, we got 95.9, which is great. And again, math is where we made the 100% point progress on that area. Still elementary, we're looking at the third component is closing gaps. We got 100 on that, 100 percentage points on that because we've closed gaps. And in readiness, we got 86.2, and it looks like we need to work on our literacy because that's 68.46, and we're shining and we're beyond the core, where we're providing additional areas of it that is more than the core subject areas such as Arabic and accelerated courses. All right, we'll be using this performance key to talk about some closing of gaps. So whenever you see this star in green, that means the subgroup has met above the 3% improvement target. And if we see a green legend like this, the subgroup met the improvement target. Yellow is going to be subgroup made progress but did not make improvement target. And red is going to identify subgroup did not make progress and did not meet improvement target. So looking at content mastery for ELA, this is still elementary. So you can take a look at where we are shining. We're going above the 3% improvement target, and we're making 3%, 6% improvement. And those are economically disadvantaged English language learners and students with disabilities. And also our African American here did a great job. In math, content mastery still are above the subgroups that are going above and beyond are the economically disadvantaged English language learners and students with disabilities, as you can see here. And we've made progress in all subgroups. Looking at science, so we made progress in all areas, and we're making a higher improvement in the economic disadvantage. We can start to see a trend here that that we're really doing a great job with our economic disadvantage. And the third is social studies, and we're making improvement in all areas except economically disadvantaged here. So that's the subject area where they're not showing improvement. All right, so progress. This is a subgroup for progress for elementary. This is the second component here for elementary. So for progress, you're looking at student growth percentiles. So looking at 66 to 99 percentile growth, our Hispanic population have gotten 50% percentile growth, and that is very good growth. I mean, compared to their peers, they've grown higher than 50% of them. So we got a 50% score on that one. That means half of our Hispanic population is actually performing between these percentiles, which is great. So looking at the math progress, 65.38% our English language learners have student growth percentiles above 66, which is great. And looking at progress for our ELL subgroup, it looks like our white population is making the highest gains with 43.48% of them. than one band in the ELL performance band. In closing gaps subgroup, it looks like we are closing gaps in English language arts, math, science, and social studies, except when it comes to the economically disadvantaged. So that's how we're closing gaps. And our third component is the readiness. And looking at the literacy, we are looking at the Lexile scores of these students. And this is what it looks like overall. 68% of our students have are in the appropriate Lexile score for their grade level. And our African American population have done a great job with 70% of them scoring, doing well on the literacy. And student attendance is part of the readiness component, and 90% of our students are showing up at school. And beyond the core, we talked about this earlier, this is providing extra beyond the core classes, such as advanced accelerated courses, Arabic, PE, and art, and all of that, and we have gotten 100 on that. All right, so that's what elementary looks like overall. Now we're going to move on to middle school. So middle school, this is our demographics for middle school, and we have 55% of our students are economically disadvantaged. So looking at each component, content mastery, we got 87%. That was our score for content mastery. Progress, we got 100. But remember that these are scores for each component, which have and each component constitutes a certain percentage of the overall CCRPI. In closing gaps, 81.3, with our score and readiness was 91.8. And we'll look into the details. So looking at our content mastery, the first component. So we are going above. This is the target score here, and this is our score. So it looks like our English language learners have shown did really great on content mastery for ELA, and also anywhere where you see these stars is where we are shining. For math, our English language learners have done really well in math, but we do see some challenges here in math. Our overall score is 79.29 when our target was supposed to be 79.37. So we've made progress, but not enough. But here, our African American population is where we're seeing that they are not growing, or they're not scoring well, and also are economically disadvantaged and student with disabilities. Looking at our science subgroup, looks like all of them are doing well, except the economically disadvantaged here. All right, second component, progress for ELA. So we're looking at the SGP, student growth percentiles. So students, 70% of our students with disabilities have gotten above the 66 percentile, which is great. And looking at the math growth percentiles, our English language learners and students with disabilities are showing the most growth. We don't have enough data for ELL subgroups for middle school. Looking at closing the gaps, our English language arts